Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Spatial Innovation's first webinar of 2025. I'm Kamithia Blackwood, your host for this exciting session on transitioning from ArcGIS Desktop to ArcGIS Pro. We're so glad you could join us as we explore everything you need to know about making the move to Esri's powerful modern GIS platform. A shift can seem daunting, but there's no need to worry. Transitioning doesn't have to be difficult, and today's session will help equip you with the knowledge, tools, to make the move with confidence. To guide us through this journey, we have none other than Lionel Grant as our presenter. Lionel presents a wealth of expertise in ArcGIS Pro, and we're thrilled to have him share his insights on the platform's capabilities, key differences from desktop, and best practices for migration. Plus, we'll have a live demonstration showcasing ArcGIS Pro in action, followed by a Q&A session where you can get to answer questions that most relate to this topic. So whether you're a longtime ArcMap user or just starting your journey with Pro, you're in the right place. Let's dive in and get started. Now, without further ado, let me turn things over to Lionel.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome, as was echoed, I'm just echoing what my colleague mentioned before, and welcome you to the first of our webinar series for the year 2025, entitled All You Need to Know About Moving from ArcGIS Desktop to ArcGIS Pro. This session, and if you can recall, if you would have attended last year's 2024's related webinars around the topic, and that's geared at helping your valued customers transition from ArcMap, which is in its retirement right now, and is set to be retired in 2026, to the ArcGIS Pro application. So what we'll be discussing in this webinar, there's a couple of things on the agenda. We want to look at why you would want to migrate. Also, we want to compare ArcMap to ArcGIS Pro so you can kind of see how Pro works. We'll also look at how we work with projects versus map documents, how to work with contents like maps and layouts, and how to work with data. We will look at things like you may have concerns about models and scripts that you may have in ArcMap, and we want to bring over across into ArcGIS Pro, how that will work. And we will also look at a couple of common workflows, how to share your work with layers and packages. We will also look at the editing functionality in ArcGIS Pro. So why migrate? Why migrate? Why not just use ArcMap forever? There is good reasons to do so. One of them is the advantages of Pro. For example, it's a 64-bit application, which means it's going to be faster and can address more memory. It also is a multi-threaded application, which means that it is going to spin all of the CPUs and the cores inside the CPUs at the same time to get the work done instead of a single-threaded application like ArcMap, which is going to end up hitting one CPU really hard. The others are really not involved. Additionally, the user interface is contextual. So when you select a map, a table, or layer, then it changes the ribbon interface, as we look at momentarily, to show you what you can do. Also, it has some functionalities that ArcMap doesn't have. For example, multiple maps and layouts in one project. Further, it is also integrated in the ArcGIS system with all the other apps. It does everything in one app instead of making different apps for 3D and so on. If you have ArcMap, you already have a license for Pro as a part of the desktop package. ArcMap finally is in its mature stage right now, and we're talking about why you should migrate. And the last point on this is that it is in its maturing stage and is heading for retirement in March of 2026. But just to give you a bit of timeline as to the progress toward the retirement of ArcMap, ArcGIS Desktop, the last version released in December 9 of 2021 was 10.8.2, and so there hasn't been any upgrading since. And so this kind of guides you as to what you can access in relation to the project, the availability of it, the extended term on it, the extended support, and to the final part of this process is going to be its retirement by March of next year. So let's compare ArcMap and ArcGIS Pro. How do you compare ArcMap and Pro? How are they different really? Are they alike? Well, in ArcMap, it is not one thing. It's ArcMap and then our catalog, if you want to, the big expanded catalog, and ArcGlobe as well, and ArcScene if you're looking at 3D data. So you're looking at 3 pieces of application. 4 pieces of application, rather, partners shown on the screen, and it's all different apps. ArcGIS Pro, however, is a single application. Pro really puts all of those apps together into one application. So you just have one app with everything in it. As you can see in the Pro views here, the app breaks out into views. Each map or table is a separate view that is actually a window that you can dock around your screen. You can move it around and distribute it even on different monitors. Whatever pane comes up, whatever tab and you want to move them around, you can always do that on different monitors at the same time. So again, unlike in ArcMap where you just have one application open for different processes, whether working with 2D data or 3D data, in ArcGIS Pro, you can work with all of that in one application, and even the added capability of opening different tabs to view whatever it is that you are creating at that time. So let's look at some terminologies. A little bit on terminologies. In ArcMap, we have a table of contents window. Those of you who are familiar with the application, you would know this. But in Pro, we have what is called a pane, as you can see on the screen, highlighted. In ArcMap, you have a data frame, and in ArcGIS Pro, we have maps. Other than that, they kind of look similar. Also, ArcMap has a catalog window if you don't want the full catalog application. And this translates into ArcGIS Pro as the catalog pane, as well as if you want the fully laid out catalog experience, Pro has a catalog view. So if you are doing things like metadata, for example, and you want more in your catalog, then you can open using the larger catalog view. Additionally, on terminologies, ArcMap has been using toolbars on its interface. ArcGIS Pro has what we call the ribbon interface. And if you have used Microsoft applications before, your Microsoft Word, your Excel, then you would already be familiar with the ribbon interface. The ribbon has tabs on it. In this case, we are highlighting the map tab, and the commands on the ribbon will change based on the tab selected. So you select a tab and it will have different commands. Also, those commands change and the tabs available change depending on what is currently active. If you have a layer selected, you get different things on the ribbon compared to another. Also, the ribbon brings to you the functionality that goes with whatever you are working with. So whatever layer you select, whatever kind of layer it is, then the tabs in the ribbon, you'll have different tabs in the ribbons, in the ribbon interface, and also different functionalities that you can access for that particular layer. So everything is really context sensitive. Finally, on terminologies, the ribbon is broken up into groups. All right, so you have tabs, and within those tabs, you have groups. So those tabs with those groups are just related commands that work together. So here you can see the ArcGIS Pro application, and as you are seeing, really you have the local scene, the map, and the global scene all together in one application and docked on different sides of the application. The window shows how ArcGIS Pro consolidates a lot of individual apps together into one. In relation to the interface, I would want to also show that how the context sensitivity would work. Once you select a layer, then the tabs that are for that layer will appear. You'll have some unique tabs for those, and you have some tabs that would just be by default in the application. But here, it is clear that you can dock different things on the screen at the same time. You have a San Diego attractions map, 2D map, and then you have the scene, and you can pan around basically. And then, of course, you can always close those for a bigger view for the 2D application. Once you select a layer, you have those tabs that will come up that are related to that layer. Your feature layer symbology for that particular layer. And of course, the labeling function, the labeling tab would be there for that as well, for your labeling, and data tab if you're looking to do like domains or subtypes, for example, on your layer. As I mentioned, context sensitive. Change from that to an imagery layer, which is a world topographic map, then of course the vector tile layer tab would appear. It wasn't there before when the layer for the vector layer, but now you have a raster layer, and then that vector tile layer appears, vector tab rather, sorry, appears, and you can basically just look at the different functionalities that are available for it, for the work that you are currently doing. So let's compare an ArcGIS Pro project and map documents. So really, how do you organize your content in ArcMap versus in ArcGIS Pro is what we're looking at here. ArcMap has the MXD file extension, and it's called a map document. While ArcGIS Pro has the APRX file extension that is for an ArcGIS Pro project. The project is a little file that reaches out basically and collects a bunch of resources together. Usually the same folder, but they could be scattered around different in different parts of your file explorer. So when you start off with ArcMap, you are building a new map document. When you start up with Pro, however, you are building a new project, or you can sometimes, as you see the template, start without a template. You're not looking to build a project, but you're just looking to do a quick work. You can always start without a template. So the difference is that the map document is one file as an MXD, as you can see on screen. But the Pro project is a collection of files in one folder. One little file called the APRX file organizes basically and knows what belongs to the project. Everything happens in one project. You don't have to separate MXDs. You have one APRX project file. A project also contains your maps, as you can see to the right of the screen, your maps, your layouts, your Python notebooks, your global and local scenes, and a table and other folder connections. Everything basically is in the one project. It's a collection of different items. All that is needed is there in the project, actually. So to open a project and work there, you can basically do that within that project. Additionally, you can connect here to ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise portal through the portal option of the catalog pane that is to the right. And there you can access whatever resources you have in online or in enterprise portal that you want to bring down into ArcGIS Pro to work with. So we will just walk through some of the things that you can basically do with your ArcGIS Pro project at this time. So ArcGIS Pro really lets you perform our work on a kind of thematic basis. So we can think about different themes that is going to unite similar kind of work that are going to be stored in that project. Within this project, really, we have all these maps, for example, as you can see toward the right, that are related to the city of San Diego. We have attractions, we have global scenes, and we have local scenes. So you really have to think about this from a thematic basis of organizing the project. Maybe we are using thematic principles like creating a series of maps about population or some simple principles to organize our work. There are some other things there like your map toolboxes, for example, with your tools. You also have your database connections, your styles, your folders, and your locators. As we add different kinds of items to our project, this list, of course, gets to expand. So we'll basically see that over the presentation as well. Within the geodatabase, of course, the geodatabase is connected there. By default, you have a default geodatabase for the connection. A couple of things I want to focus on is how we can add data. And so if you look inside the folders there, you have like a geodatabase, you have different folders that are added based on your folder connection. When we create a project, there is a default folder that is created. as you can see there, you have a default folder that is created there and a default geodatabase and toolbox. So this is just a little introduction on the application and some of the functionalities there, everything being brought across in the catalog pane. You have your project with window of the catalog pane with all your folder connections, your maps, your toolboxes. You have your portal tab within that catalog pane that connects you to ArcGIS Enterprise. You have also your favorites, which you may want to add some data or that you're working with and that you want to always be working with as favorites so you can have a connection to them without having to search as you switch between different projects. What I want to also bring across here is that if you realize that the file size is 57.2 kilobytes, and that is going to stay really small since the APRX file extension is really a coordinating hub, basically reaching out to different locations to bring in resources and make them appear in different ways within our project. What I want to also talk about is bringing your content into ArcGIS Pro. So some of you would have been working with ArcMap, and as we talk about your migration, you may be saying, I have products that I would have been maps that I would have created in ArcMap already, and I'm currently using them. How will this affect me with all my data and all my map services, basically? And I would say, have no fear, because you can, of course, bring content that you already have in ArcMap into ArcGIS Pro. You don't need to start over with all your symbology and layout that you already have. You can just bring them in to ArcGIS Pro by importing them. This is really convenient and makes migration easy. So here is an example of ArcMap that has 3 data frames, as you can see in the left of the contents. Each data frame occupies a place on the layout. It looks like one of the data frames is kind of off the map and 2 are visible to the map user. If we brought this into Pro, we would just import the MXD file and we would get the same thing. The 3 data frames each now becomes a map in ArcGIS Pro, as shown on the screen. You bring over content into ArcGIS Pro from ArcMap by importing. There's a couple of things that you could do, but you use the import feature functionality in ArcGIS Pro to bring in your map, basically, from ArcMap.
ArcMap to ArcGIS.
Use your data in place or upgrade it. So what's a GIS without data, really? You have got data using it in ArcMap and would want to, of course, bring this across into ArcGIS Pro. So the tool that you would really use is called upgrade dataset. So we will upgrade a dataset to like the latest version. You will realize that this is a one-way path as there is not a downgrade dataset. So you may want to back up the data before upgrading and think about how to get your migration with ArcMap to work. So a few things to know about this is that some data in ArcMap is read-only data in ArcGIS Pro, and Pro does not know how to edit some of those data. And that might be concerns that some of you may have. It knows how to edit the newer data, however, but there's some data coming across from ArcMap that is only going to be read-only in Pro. So take the parser fabric, for example. The ArcMap parser fabric got completely re-architected in Pro. It made no sense for Esri to build a bunch of code in Pro to work with an obsolete data set. ArcGIS Pro can read it and make maps with it, but cannot edit the ArcMap parser fabric. So you will need to upgrade that to the Pro parser fabric to move forward. The geometric network in ArcMap, if you have worked with that, you know that it has been used quite a bit for many different things. So we know that there is more than one use cases. Two general use cases being utilities that handles things like the fittings of pipes and connection to electrical lines. Also, we would upgrade the geometric network to a trace network, a simpler network that can do things like trace the flow of water downstream and does not have the complexity of the utility network. Annotation can be upgraded within ArcGIS Pro as well. And let us look as well about your geodatabases as we look at migrating. What about geodatabases? Well, as long as your geodatabase version is 10 or higher in ArcMap, it will work. You do not need to upgrade the geodatabase. You can if you want to. The mobile geodatabase is a new thing with Pro and does not work in ArcMap. It is physically stored as my SQL database. The extension is .geodatabase. The mobile geodatabase is used to download data to a mobile device to take to the field when you are not connected. The mobile files are not supported in Pro at all and would need to be converted to a file geodatabase or something else. So if you have your geodatabases in ArcMap and you're wondering about them, how it's going to work in Pro, once you are at a version of 10 or higher, you will be fine bringing that across into ArcGIS Pro. You can also upgrade it if you want to as well. What about, there are concerns a lot of times about things like updating like models and scripts. How would those come across from ArcMap into ArcGIS Pro? There is a geoprocessing tool you can use called Analyze Tools for Pro. So once you go to the Analysis tab and in your tools, you can search for that tool in ArcGIS Pro, Analyze Tools for Pro, and feed it your script or geoprocessing model that you have in ArcMap, and it will create a report of anything that is going to be an issue. So you feed it into that tool, it generates a report, and so you can know what may be an issue for you with those scripts and models. The general issues are that you come across when doing this are that the geoprocessing tool you were using in ArcMap does not work in Pro. That does not happen that often, but it sometimes does. Sometimes we create different tools to do kind of the same thing when we move to a different technology. The other case that happens is Esri had to upgrade Python as well because Python moves forward basically, and ArcMap is in an unsupported version of Python that is 2.7. So Esri updates the 3.3.x, so let's say 3.1, 3.0, 3.3, 3.4 Pro for Pro. So that's each stage of each upgrade that we have in Pro at 3.4. Now, unfortunately, when they upgraded Python, they decided that the print statement was inappropriate or tacky, and so decided to get rid of the print statement and requires you to use the print functions instead, which means to upgrade a script from Python 2.x to Python 3.x, as in Pro, you have to change every print statement to a print function, just a different way of doing it. In general, it is pretty straightforward. Otherwise, the Analyze tool for Pro would identify those things for you, basically. So no need to worry, and show you where you need to change your model or your script to make it work. All right, so let's address two more things, one of which is sharing. How do you share data? How do you share your packages and your web items in ArcGIS Pro? Let's look at the sharing experience. How do you publish data to ArcGIS Online or Enterprise or make various kinds of packages? There is a tab in ArcGIS Pro called the Share tab, and I apologize for the visuals. It's not as clear on the monitor, but you have the Share tab within Pro that allows you to access all the different sharing functionalities that you may need, whether it is to do a package, whether it is to publish web items to ArcGIS Online, or to save projects and maps to file. The other thing is you can have multiple backstage portals. So you may have different portals and you access those by going to the project tab in Pro and going down to portals. You may have different portals that you may want to switch between to work, and to basically connect to bring down different items from ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise, and ArcGIS Pro allows you to do that switch in the project as well. This is a significant difference as well. Lastly, I will touch on editing in ArcGIS Pro. Editing is done in Pro through a tab on the ribbon called the Edit tab. And so then all the editing tools basically are really there. A few differences in the editing experience between ArcMap and Pro. One of those is you don't have to start and stop editing. You're just editing all the time. You can also edit in multiple workspaces. You don't have to switch workspaces like in ArcMap. You can just edit whatever data is on the map. Another thing to point out is the map topology. Map topology is like a geodatabase topology in that you can do shared feature editing, but that only works on the data that is inside the geodatabase topology. What if you have data from various sources and you would like to just keep them aligned? Instead of turning on a geodatabase topology, you would turn on a map topology. And any data that you added from a map, your shape files, your file database map services, that data, if a map topology is turned on, when things are lined up, they still line up to the editing process as if it was a geodatabase topology. The difference is the geodatabase topology has a collection of rules that can test for violation, like do features overlap. Map topology does not have that, but it has the sharing feature editing thing. And you can also turn off topology in order to break a feature loose when you don't want to move with the other features. Another thing is that you also have the feature templates that you can always use in your editing. All right, so just touch a bit, this is a touch a bit on the migration. Last year, there were two others in the series that were done in first and last quarter of the year, 2024. And this is just the third entry to that. So there's some content that you can access there in our YouTube channel, Spatial Innovation YouTube channel, to get the first two entries in the series that's in the first quarter of last year and the last quarter of last year, migrating from ArcMap to ArcGIS Pro. Along with this, will provide information that you would need to comfortably do the migration over as Esri moves away from desktop to what we call user types, Pro applications, and ArcGIS Online. Now, there are resources to help with that would, of course, be complementary to a webinar, and that is number one, a 2-day course called Migrating from ArcMap to ArcGIS Pro, which we deliver here from Spatial Innovation Limited. And that basically, if you are working already in ArcMap, you can comfortably get to transition using the same workflows that you are using in ArcMap, bringing them, importing them, migrating them over to Pro to work, especially since ArcMap is in retirement. Secondly, there's a list of migration resources on the Esri community that you can access and ask questions as well and interact with the community. You can always just scan the QR code on the screen for any or both that you want to basically be interacting with. Okay, these are the credits of resources that were used. And at this time, I just want to thank you for joining. And we, of course, I'm going to hand over to Kamisia, who will direct at this time if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you, Lionel. I know that was a lot of information for some of us to take in. So if anyone has any questions for our lovely presenter, you can just raise your hands or type them in the chat, or you can utilize our question and answer feature. So are there any questions for Lionel? Anything that was unclear? Anything that you would like him to address? I- Okay, so I see a question here asking if there's a backward capability. Could you specify exactly what you mean by that?
Okay, thank you for clarifying the question. Is there a backward capability? For example, if I have data stored in ArcMap, can I open the data in ArcGIS? As I mentioned, you can bring across the geodatabase, and also you can always just import whatever maps that you have in ArcMap using the import functionality in ArcGIS Pro. And secondly, I'm seeing another question here about does retirement of ArcMap means the license will no longer function? So thank you for that question. Just to clarify that we will not be supporting Esri will not be supporting ArcMap, neither will any upgrades, further upgrades be done besides the 10.8 that I believe it was 1 or 2 that it's at currently that I showed earlier. But you will always just have that license as your license. It's not that the license is going to stop working. The license will continue to function at the current level that it is at. I've experienced using. Let me read a question. Okay, and just to get back to, there's a question. So as I scroll through the list of questions that we have here, I've experienced using a particular script in ArcMap, and sometimes the same glitch doesn't work in Pro. Is that usually a program glitch, or the same script doesn't work in Pro? Did you try the tool that was mentioned earlier to see if a report was generated on it, or let me know if you had tried that tool and what the feedback from the report, if you that's the analyzed tools for Pro. Session focused on utility networks, in particular conversion from an existing geometric network to a utility network. Okay, so thank you for that question, for that recommendation. We can take it as a suggestion and make it one of our future webinars upcoming as soon as possible. That's for persons who have concerns about working with utility network. We do have courses for that as well. So I'm going to leave my email, and if there are any suggestions on future webinars, please let us know how best we can assist you in doing the migrations. But I'll take this one in consideration here. And one of our presenters who are knowledgeable of utility networks would be assisting with that presentation. Well, is there a recommended workflow for migrating existing projects from ArcMap to ArcGIS Pro? So the ArcMap is really an MXD file. So we don't really call it like a project like Pro, but of course, the import feature, I may try to do a screen share to show how something like that is done if I have enough time. But all you need to do is just go import and bring it across. And those all of those data frames will each become different maps. It sort of looks similar as well, and coming across as a layout. GeoDatabase has the at least version 10. Are we referring to the SQL server? Yes. Is there a way for my team and I'm trying to go through the questions. I have a lot of questions here, trying to go through them. And thank you for the questions. Is there a way for myself and my team to reach out to you for more information after the session? Of course, I am going to reshare my email on the screen for you to reach out at any time. And we have different solutions engineer here that works in different areas, whether you're looking at utility network, and we can always point you to the expert in the subject matter. I've shared my screen with the email, and you can always send an email to me, and I'll answer the questions. And if it's in another field of another solutions engineer or account manager, I can pass it on to them as well. But editing large volumes from ArcGIS Online using Pro takes very long and crashes. Is there a recommended way to do this? Well, I have worked with large data from ArcMap bringing across into Pro. I haven't had a crash problem except on computers that maybe have issues with the graphics card. But I haven't met that particular issue of the program crashing working with big data. And I've worked with big data like census data as well for a country. So I'm not sure if you could explain some more about the data that you are working with. Maybe I could speak more to that. Can we get a copy of the presentation, as a geology team? Of course. All right, so we have the Spatial Innovision YouTube channel that basically has that this one will be on there uploaded and all the others that we would have done on subjects such as migrating to ArcGIS Pro from ArcMap, ArcGIS Pro itself and the different drones and drone processing software, different webinars for different workflows are there, and products and services are in our Spatial Innovision YouTube channel. I know as well that the marketing team will send out a link normally to the webinar that we do to all those who are registered. So you should get a copy of it. All right, on the topic of if I have data stored in ArcMap, can I open the data in ArcGIS Pro? All right, so I won't be able to do a live session right now, but if you send an email and maybe you can request a session with us, then of course we can show you how to bring across in a little demo, how to bring those across as well. And we also recommend the persons who want to know more, of course, sign up for the Migrating from ArcMap to contact us to learn more about that course and also to explore the resources. In the Esri community.
Okay. Just before we sign off, just going once again to see if there are any more questions for Lionel as it relates to getting copies of the webinar presentation itself. I will be able to send out to those who have requested it. I've already taken down the names. And the recording of this webinar will be uploaded to YouTube shortly for those who might have missed it or would want to go back over this presentation. So going one more time, are there any questions for Lionel? Alrighty, and just like that, we've reached the end of our session. I want to thank all of you for joining us. We hope this session has provided you with valuable insights into making a smooth transition from ArcGIS Desktop to ArcGIS Pro. A huge thank you to our presenter, Lionel Grant, for sharing his expertise and guiding us through the key differences, best practices, and a live demonstration of ArcGIS Pro. Lionel, your insights have certainly made the transition process clearer and more approachable. As we move forward, remember that embracing ArcGIS Pro is not just about keeping up with technology, it's about unlocking new capabilities, improving efficiency, and future-proofing your GIS workflows. Change can feel overwhelming, but with the right resources and support, you can make this transition with confidence. If you have any further questions, need assistance, or would like more training opportunities, don't hesitate to reach out to Spatial Innovation. We're here to support you every step of the way. Once again, thank you for being here today. We look forward to seeing you in our future webinars as we continue to explore the exciting world of GIS together. Until next time, take care and keep mapping.